Now, it's the time of year when everyone could do with a bonus, but one country is making sure everyone is getting one. Slovenia is granting all working adults €640 as a one-off payment. The people may be celebrating, but business leaders are fuming. So, could other countries now follow Slovenia's lead? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, Slovenia is giving 1 million people a one-off cash payment this Christmas to ease the cost of living. But the cost to business is some €600 million. Many business leaders are far from happy about being told to pay their staff this bonus.
It's the news lighting up the faces of workers across Slovenia. They're set to receive some extra Christmas cheer this holiday season. Ljubljana has introduced a new measure requiring a special end-of-year payment to be made to employees, €640, half a monthly minimum wage salary. The only catch, it's making private employers foot the bill. Christmas might have come early for the workforce, but it's less jolly for businesses, already struggling with rising labour costs and persistent inflation. Prime Minister Robert Golob will be hoping it's a vote winner ahead of elections in March, and that it's as successful as the country's long-running summer bonuses. The EU has given the prospect a frostier reception, warning Slovenia that the move could be a breach of the bloc's fiscal rules. In a country surrounded by right-wing governments, its ruling left Liberal coalition is hoping to stop populist parties from gaining ground there too, believing that last-minute trinkets and baubles will be enough to lift voters' spirits.
Well, I'm excited for this one. Joining us from Ljubljana, let's meet our guests in Slovenia. We have Dan Juvan. Dan is Slovenia's State Secretary for Social Affairs, Employment Relations and Labour Rights. Also in the capital city, we have Borut Makina. He's a journalist and researcher. And in Falmer, in England, we have Sambit Bhattacharya, who is Professor of Economics and Head of the Department of Economics at the University of Sussex. Boys, you're all very welcome to Roundtable. I'll come to you first, Dan. Just give me the government thinking on this. This is surely a winner of a policy.
We already have a summer bonus for everybody that is employed in the Republic of Slovenia. So every worker gets a summer bonus, at least in minimum wage. So we are extremely happy that we managed to legislate a winter bonus as well, which will be a half a minimum wage.
And tell me, Dan, what's the thinking at government level behind this? Is it to give a boost to the economy, or is it to buy popularity with the voters?
Well, it's to increase labor rights. We are a left government, and our agenda is to increase labor rights and to give people something they can live with, something that they can use to cover the rising cost of living. Of course, there is this element of elections is coming, and people can be happy about it. It is a permanent legislation.
So it's staying. So every year from now on, everyone in Slovenia will get this every Christmas?
This is correct, until a government comes that will actively erase it from the legislation, which I think is not really possible.
Very interesting. Borut, just come in and tell us how the average Slovenian family is feeling hearing this news that €640 will be parachuting in very shortly.
I think majority of people are, of course, happy. There are some, there is some criticism from business organizations, basically that this came quite unexpectedly for them, because it was enacted now in just before the winter, and they said they are not prepared. But they have some safeguards also for this in the legislation. But in general, I think this is now really a kind of a win-win situation. So people are happy, and the government, of course, has got the popularity they never did.
Thank you, Boris. Sambit, to you, talk to me about how the business community might be feeling. I mean, small businesses employing maybe 25, 30 people probably had a tough year, and suddenly the government are saying you've got to find €640 Christmas bonus for everyone you employ. Tough times.
That's a valid point, Edna, because um, I guess the challenge here is it imposes cost on businesses, and it's somewhat an unanticipated cost. So obviously, individuals working for the public sector are not going to feel the punch here, but individuals working for the private sector, and especially small and medium-sized businesses, they might not very well end up getting the benefit. I think there are provisions for companies postponing making payments. So it's tricky for small and medium-sized businesses at a time when they are facing supply chain challenges, higher energy prices, and potentially higher taxes as well.
Dan, what do you say to that argument that you're being unfair on the business community, that government policy, this has happened very quickly and business might not have time to react?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to make 2 points. The first point is that our ministry brought this winter bonus to the negotiating table in 2022. At that moment, it was practically shot down by the representative of capital or the employers, and also the policy didn't really have the coalition support that it needed to have to move on. So it was shot down in 2022 in the negotiations in the Economic Social Council, and now it had returned as a phoenix from the ashes. And it is true what my co-locutor is saying. It was abrupt and it was fast. On the other hand, the second point, the law has two provisions. There is one special provision just for this year that the companies can only pay 1/4 of the winter bonus until 18 December and the rest until the 31st of March. And the constant provision and exception in the law is that if companies are in trouble, if they have liquidity problems, they can postpone the paying of the whole winter bonus until March the 31st.
So, Dan, your expectation is, regardless of what your company's finances or your boss's money is like, every adult working in Slovenia will get this money.
Every person that is in employer relationship, everybody that is employed, yes, everybody will have the right to receive it, and it will be a right of workers to receive it. Sure.
Borut, talk to me about towns and cities and villages across Slovenia. I'm guessing shops are going to be very busy this Christmas with everyone having this little windfall come in.
I think also the people see this as welcoming. Namely, the profits in Slovenia are as high as possible. Never before the businesses had such big profits that they have it now. The unemployment is basically zero. So these are all arguments where people also see that such measures are valid. So, and now how they will spend it, people in the past, Slovenian people received bonuses, but on a voluntary basis. So the big rich companies were giving bonuses to the people who are already rich. Now, for the first time in history, Christmas bonus will also be given to workers who are not so rich and do not work in rich companies. So this happiness is happiness per square.
Sambit, to you, you're in the United Kingdom. We keep seeing stories about lack of growth, economic activity kind of falling off a cliff, and productivity as well. This is one surefire way of stimulating an economy, isn't it?
Well, I think the answer is that it depends. If you look at Slovenia, it's a small country. It's doing quite well, and it can certainly afford such a fiscal stimulus by way of a direct transfer to its citizens. However, the challenges are likely to come from the supply side. So, for example, as Dan mentioned, that these measures are likely to be permanent. So, in a sense, that would affect inflation expectations of citizens. This will add to demand, obviously, this extra money. whereas the entire eurozone, as well as the European Union countries and single market as a whole, including the United Kingdom, are going through tough times from the supply side, and that's largely external to a country like Slovenia. Um, you know, external pressures coming from high energy prices, supply chain challenges, etc., etc. So unless there are specific measures taken by the government in order to boost productivity, again, that's also tricky given that Slovenia, I would expect, is very well integrated to the supply chain of large European economies like Germany, France, and Italy, who are not doing particularly well. So that can, in the short to medium term, bring in inflation and undermine the very thing that Dan and the government is trying to do, which is reduced cost of living for the citizens.
Thanks, Sambit. Dan, to you, just talk to me about the cost of living in Slovenia. How has it been then the last couple of years? Has it been quite tough?
Well, it depends who you are, of course. But for people on minimum wages or people that live with incomes under average wage, especially with people that don't own their own apartment or a house, the costs of living in Slovenia are, in my opinion, extremely high, comparatively speaking. So that's why we try to ask ourselves a question: what can the working class in Slovenia afford? And from this point, I think that 600 and something euros shouldn't be too much for companies to give to those workers. And also including the fact that at the moment 40% or 50% of workers already receive a winter bonus from their companies. So those companies that already pay the winter bonus actually have a reduction on the side of social contributions and taxes. So basically, those companies that already pay the winter bonus will have a discount this year. On the other hand, Slovenia just passed legislation to help companies that are facing crisis on the market or problems in business.
And Dan, what feedback have you had when you're out and about Ljubljana talking to people? What have they been saying about this policy?
Well, people are hard to satisfy. Of course, there is the big part of the public that would say is just a little candy bonus before the election time. But I think that the majority of people will respect and approve of this policy, especially because it's not just a one-off; it's a permanent bonus with analogy to the summer bonus.
Thank you, Dan. Borut, let's talk about the Prime Minister then, Robert Golob. How popular is he? I mean, is this bonus because he's struggling in the polls, do you think?
No, I think if you look at Slovenia, Slovenia is now an island of left liberal politics that is ruling here, and we are surrounded by countries where right or even extreme right politics rules the government. So they have to find policies that are that are not pushing Slovenia towards this way that also out of European countries going. And I think this measure was one of the most interesting ones.
And tell me, how do you think the Prime Minister is doing then? I mean, is he popular at street level?
No, in Slovenia, the governments are as per se not so popular. But in comparison with other governments at the end of the term, I think Robert Golob, so our prime minister's popularity is now quite high.
Thank you, Boris. Samba, just come in on the whole issue of other countries. Do you think people will be watching this as a little experiment, perhaps, in Slovenia this Christmas, this winter, and thinking, let's see what happens to their economy? I mean, could other countries afford to even look at this?
That's a very good question. I guess for Slovenia, I mean, what you see is an economy that is well managed. It has solid credit ratings. It has a strong fiscal position, and it's a small country, so scale matters. So it can certainly afford a policy like this. Whereas if you look at Slovenia's neighbors, either in the Eurozone or beyond, you can see that it's not not such a happy story. And government's fiscal position in those countries are not that strong. So from that perspective, yes, Slovenia is in the right position to enact this policy. Um, I'm not so sure about Slovenia's neighbors.
And just, Sam, but on the point you made about it being a comparatively smaller country, it's 1 million working adults who are getting this money. So the prospect of France or Germany or Italy, Spain, or any of the big, European Union countries doing this, it's never going to happen.
It's unlikely, I think, would be my answer. The fiscal burden for any of the bigger governments in Europe replicating Slovenia would be massive at a time when the economy is shrinking. So as a result, tax take is declining. So it's impractical at this stage for bigger countries to enact a policy like Slovenia.
Dan, 2026 will bring elections in your country. How are you feeling personally? How's your party looking?
Well, it's hard to make predictions, but I think that people should look further than only the winter bonus. People should maybe assess the government's success based on other bigger reforms like the pension reform, the long-term act reform, and the public housing reform. Those are huge areas with huge importance and implications for the future. The winter bonus was a political project that I think it's important, but shouldn't take all the attention away from the real societal problems that this government, I think, really tried to address and laid foundation for the future. And I hope people will respect and recognize those efforts.
Dan, you're part of the ruling coalition, and obviously it is a left-wing government, as you stated at the start of this roundtable. Borat pointed out that a lot of your neighbours have gone right-wing and extremely right-wing. How important do you think it is then that the people of Slovenia return another left-wing government in 2026?
Well, I think the answer is self-evident. We would not like to see the resurrection of hate rhetorics and discrimination. And, we are trying not to blame minority groups for the failure of societies. And I think this is one of the most important questions here. We need to address the root cause of inequality and poverty and social exclusion, and do not let the demagogy of right-wing parties blaming other minorities or other weaker links in society for downcoming of society. So I think it's important for the left liberal parties to try to keep up to their promises so that people will give us another chance.
Borat, what have your friends been saying about the bonus then this Christmas? What are people spending the money on?
Some will, of course, buy presents. Others will go visit neighbor Austria or Italy, skiing probably, and so on. So, there everyone has its own idea.
And tell me, Boris, do people genuinely think this is a little bit of a political gimmick to get everyone voting for that government to get them back in power in 2026?
Yes, I mean, I think it is, but as I explained, I think they are understanding that this has a certain legitimacy because we see that firms have a lot of profit, because we see the unemployment is low, so why not? And I think majority of people here would also wish that this would be something that could spread to other countries. We see that, for example, capital, the income from capital is getting relatively higher than income from work. Work is cherished less and less. And so why not give a boost to the work? Why not make it important? I think this could be a role model also for other countries.
Thanks, Boris. Sambas, how do you think small and medium-sized enterprises will be feeling about this landing in their lap just ahead of Christmas? I would imagine it's a headache the business community probably could have done without.
That's correct. So obviously, this will add to their cost. This will reduce their profit. But having said that, if they, are starting from a strong balance sheet position, so probably most of them will be able to afford it. However, the bigger, perhaps much more important question is about investment. So I think that's the thing that the left wing government in Slovenia would need to consider and keep in mind, which is that at the end of the day, you can make transfers to citizens, make them happy, and as Borat pointed out, that most of the money will be spent on consumption expenditure, but in order to reduce inequality and poverty, you need growth, and for growth, you would need investment, not just investment from the big players, the big firms, but also small and medium sized firms. So, in a sense, that needs to be taken into consideration for long term policy.
Thanks, Sambit. Dan, I think a lot of people tuning in and learning more about Slovenia will be thinking, what a great place to live. You get a summer bonus, and now you get a winter bonus, and this is on top of your 12 months of salary. So it's effectively, 2 extra payments in the year. A lot of people will probably be feeling quite hard done by.
Well, I don't know. I think that the question is how much yearly salary is taken away from workers, and I think we're just giving back a portion to those that actually contribute the most to our society. If I am allowed to be extremely left here, but as was said, it's not new. This instrument, it already exists. It is 40% of people already get it. So for those companies, it's basically a tax discount, and there are provisions inside for companies that are facing problems. So even though I agree that it was done fast, it was done fast also because it was shot down from the negotiation table in 2022. We had time to create longer periods of implementation, but that time was sadly missed. And I'm happy that at the end we had the courage to legislate it before the end of the mandate.
And Dan, your opposition must be livid about this. I mean, I can imagine the anger in private meetings in other political parties thinking, how do we get this lot out of government if they keep giving people what you described as a candy bonus at Christmas?
Well, that's their problem to have. I think that they will have a bigger problem if ever they come back in power to take away those provisions from the people. So good luck with that.
Thanks, Dan. Boris, give us your reading of the political situation in Slovenia right now then. Do you think Robert Golob is absolutely nailed on to get back into power next year?
No, I think it's not the end of the story. The election months are just beginning, and it's a big question what will happen. It's not, nothing is decided yet. There are you also have to take into consideration that that's his second term, and usually parties and politicians in their second term get a bit lower, less votes than in the first term. So probably, so we have a coalition system, and the next coalition probably will be more vivid with more parties. So not so hard and stable like this one. But the prospects are for now for him, so for the left liberal grouping, quite good.
Thank you, Boris. Sambit, just final point to you. There will be political leaders across Europe who are struggling for popularity. I mean, your Prime Minister in the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, deeply unpopular in the polls right now. I'm sure people like him will be looking at this Slovenia story and the winter bonus and just thinking, wow, what a genius move.
Yes, I mean, politicians will be tempted to use fiscal measures to win votes, but that type of strategy can be short-lived, because of sort of the downside risks of inflation. And for most countries, the shock is likely to come from things that are outside of their control, things like energy prices, things like currency shocks, and so on. In case of Slovenia, it's about sort of, in any potential shock to the euro and so on. So, there could be shocks that could be transmitted to Slovenia and countries like Slovenia, which the government is probably not paying attention at this point in time. If the timing is right, everyone's happy, then it would work in your favor, but it can also backfire.
One last question to you, Dan. The European Commission, not massively impressed by this policy. They've given Slovenia a warning about the fiscal rules, but you did it anyway.
We are here for the people, not for but bureaucrats in Brussels. My final point will be this: people are struggling with the rising cost of living, and we are trying to give them something so they can help themselves with that. So it is a bit of hypocrisy to say, don't give people better wages, don't give people winter bonuses, it will drive inflation. They are already facing these inflations, and they're already struggling with the rising cost of living. That's why I think it's important that we try to help them out, no matter what Brussels says.
Dan, thank you, and to Sambit and Borat as well in Slovenia. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable, TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye, and thank you for watching.